And we're back. We are back. We are live. So listen, sorry about before. We being our first podcast, where there's obviously going to be a few little teething issues along the way. So ironic that I'm a master engineer. I meant to get shit right, and yet the sound particularly got fucked up. Peter Mobbs, thanks very much for your high pass filter suggestion. We've taken it on board, and we'll the solution called the Mobs. We'll call this the Mobs solution. It's all been sorted out. Anyway, if you are here with us, good to have you back. Jack the Bear here with Morgan from Acolyte, and so we'll keep talking for a little while for the next 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes or so to hang around?
Yes.
All right, beautiful. So sorry again for you guys for our little fuck up, but again, teething problems. But we'll eventually get this right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I was talking to my man Thomas Overend, who's put all this together from the Backline Project, who's been my fucking godsend. We were just before we were getting back on air, we were just talking about when learning on the job, right? And my daughter's just here tonight to observe and watch. And I said the best way to learn is actually being doing it hands on. Right,
thrown in the deep end.
Thrown straight into it's sink or swim without doubt. And the other thing about it is Thomas has got himself this new switching box that we when we first started talking about this podcast, he said, look, I'd love to be able to do it, but we need this bit of technology which will allow us to this is going to save hours and hours of fucking post-production work, because you can switch between cameras on the fly and do this whole thing. So he's fucking up on this thing, but that's cool. Now here's the thing. You learn, it's like I was telling you before, this is the difference between rehearsing in a band room, right, and being live on stage. When you're testing new songs or new equipment, it's when you get thrown in the deep end, you're going to learn a lot faster and get better chops that way. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, look. He was warned, actually, earlier.
I was warned. Again, first podcast, what was it? Little creases that need to be ironed out. Yes, indeed. Anyway, go on.
What am I going to say?
No, we're just talking about the idea of, the sink or swim thing.
The sink or swim thing. Didn't we get... We got that hardcore. So we played one show... We played one show before our launch with the new lineup. Then we went into our launch for the whole album. So our guitarist had played 2 shows at that stage and got thrown straight into a packed out Evelyn room. And then we got the call to do the 12-Foot Ninja Tour with everyone. So sold out all over Australia. And this poor guy, he's just learned our songs, was just like, oh my God, what do we do? And at that point, it's exactly that. Sink or swim. Own it or don't. So hopefully we did. I think we did.
I reckon those from my recollection, right, when you guys did that support, I think that really put you guys on the map. I think
absolutely
that really,
no doubt about it.
That really consolidated you guys as a band and gave you credibility. And from there on, to be honest, the first time I went and saw you guys play, I think it was at the Workers Club. I think you figures you. Was
that the first time you came down?
I think so.
I think you came to our... No. Maybe... What was it, Connie? Evelyn.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Evelyn, yeah.
Early on.
That's right. With
El Colosso, one of your faves.
I love El Colosso. Fuck, I love those guys.
I know.
They're such a good band. I'll tell you what.
They're balls deep, aren't they?
They are. Their album is coming out. I'm not just saying because I had worked on it. It is the most explosive fucking record. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, I love those guys. Yeah, they write great tunes. They're a good bunch of guys, a great bunch of players, and they're also a really good example of they're not just champion players, but they're a champion team. They say that a champion team will always beat a team of champions, but they are each as individuals incredible at their respective instruments. But as a band, when they play together, they're fucking awesome. I had, Higo text me some ungodly hour last night after seeing him and saying, thanks for introducing. I think he was being very ironic in it, but just being upset with me for introducing this band to them because he loves them so much, So, El Colosso, they're fucking great. Album drops next month, I think. So, Go out there and buy, kids. Support Australian music. Support local artists. That's what it's all about. You gonna do vinyl? Just curiosity. You gonna do a vinyl release?
Only after we talked about it, because we have quite a few oldies in the band. When I say that, I mean they're very heavily influenced by the old ways, so analog ways. Yeah. I think me and you had a big chat about analog's history and how it needs to come back in some way, shape or form. And luckily enough, you are quite proficient in that from your day, as far as having it accessible, one, to yourself, but also having learnt from some of the best in getting that done. So maybe for the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe for the next one.
I'm amazed at how many of my clients now are starting to do more. It's just more and more vinyl. And in fact, I have some clients that will just do nothing but vinyl.
Oh, it's the new booming thing, for sure. 100%. Yeah.
And apparently
it looks better.
Apparently, well, yes. Well, that's the thing. It's the whole tactile experience of playing. Again, if you there's definitely a nostalgic element to it. Again, it's a very tactile experience, and there was a ritual. And when you sit down and tell kids that back in the day, your entertainment was this fucking bit of vinyl. You'd go, there's the ritual, putting it on, dropping the needle, sitting down, and people would hang out at home and listen to music.
It's a ritualistic experience. The purchase of it, holding something that big in your hands, exploring how much art is involved in it from the moment you open it up and you see everything in a real format on your lap, and you're really holding it and looking at it, and then taking it out. And obviously, like you said, the needle, the so-and-so, and having that experience. It's putting an action with music rather than just pressing the play button, which is the disconnect now.
Yeah,
but people are appreciating more, aren't they?
Absolutely. I still think for the current generation, again, it's sort of fault of anything. It's just that the way they've been brought up. It's just been the culture that they've been raised in. But music has become more of an adjunct that kids seem to enjoy doing while they're doing other shit. Yeah. Whereas for us, music was the primary focus, and that's what we were present, and we were in the moment of doing that, even not talking to your friends for the most part. You're just getting into this record. Whereas now it's like you're on your Facebook, you're on your Xbox One, you're texting your friends, and music's just something there's an embellishment rather than the primary focus. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just an observation.
Well, it doesn't. I don't know. Like, when as a cool kid, you want to do something different from what everyone else is doing. And now it's popular, so it may not last long. I'm not, but I still remember back in the day, saving all my lunch money, like the $2 a day that my mum gave me, to buy lunch or whatever, and finding my best mate, jumping on a train, maybe legally, and going to the local store that was, basically this archive of all these old and newer vinyls, and coming across Mars Volta limited edition, yellow vinyl, that was unheard of back then. It's all cool now, but you didn't really get coloured ones very often. It was very, very unusual. So we took out all our coins that we'd collected and piled it in, and we basically had a parent sharehold situation where it was like, you have it for a week, I'll have it for a week, kind of situation. But it was so important. Like, we sat in the bedroom when we got back, opened it up, had a look at it, was like, oh my God, sat in the room and listened to it together, having maybe a couple of drinks as kids, as you do with kids, and stuff like that. But that's the things that I remember being so important back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's why it holds such a big thing to me,
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned that experience of yours, saving, coins to buy records and shit like that. It was like when, I'll never forget the day when AC/DC's Back in Black came out. I wag school. I mean, I remember listening to it. This guy called Billy Pennell, who's an absolute living treasure in this country, was doing a thing called the Album Show, back in the day. And Sunday night, and this was for the serious music lovers who love music. So what Billy doesn't know about music or bands or whatever isn't worth knowing. Okay, and so he played this. And at the time, there was all this anticipation because Bon Scott tragically passed away. Brian Johnson, the singer, no one really knew what it was going to be like, and so there was all this anticipation around this album. So I remember being a kid at home, listening to Billy as I did religiously on the Sunday night, and they dropped 3 tracks from Back in Black, and so they played Back in Black, and then he played Shoot the Thrill. Shoot the Thrill for me that's like, if there's one song, you know, you talk about how the opera will take you. Shoot the Thrill for me is what could raise me from the dead. It's just, it's that tune. So I wagged school the next day, and I was really fucking early outside of Allen's in Collins Street, as it was back then, and waited outside patiently along with about 20 other people to get in there, and I bought 2 copies, right? Because I was always
one you could trash.
Sorry?
One you could trash and one you could keep mint.
Well, I don't trash my records. Anyone that knows me, I'm very fastidious and almost to the point of OCD when it comes to my fucking my collection of music. But I for some reason, I just had the foresight to think that I just would like to have one that's absolutely fucking pristine, minty mint, so which I still have to this day, you know, of that original pressing of Back in Black. Yeah. So again, just that whole thing of nostalgia and remembering things and... You know, but I wagged school and didn't eat lunch for a week, you know, to get the money up. But there are those moments that you carry through the rest of your life, don't they?
They are, and I think that's, you know, for me, they were the things that made it a really important experience, you know. I think bigger bands back in the day as well, from my memory or when I was back at high school, there were a lot more open age things at some of the very prestigious venues that you find around Melbourne now. So the Corner Hotel, I know they used to hold a lot more. I think I remember talking to you, Jace, when you were saying Perfect Circle, when you and Dan and that wagged. Yeah. So, you know, they had saved all week together and got their older brothers and stuff to purchase tickets and all that kind of stuff, and ended up just leaving halfway through the day and seeing Perfect Circle back at the Corner Hotel when it was an all ages event. Those things are, I think, what is ingrained in you, and they stay with you forever. You sit in school and you go, like, I want to be a musician now, like, for real. Like, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Do you remember your first gig? The first one I played, or the first one I ever went to?
The first one you attended?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Go on.
For my 13th birthday, my mum bought me Marilyn Manson tickets. You know, I am a very, very big fan of a big show. And I think that that's probably one of the things that I was really loving about what he was doing at the time, because it was for the Guns, God, Government tour, for the record that he just brought out. And it was probably for the best tour he'd ever done, I believe, as far as how big it was and everything. And I left there on the most real high I think I've ever experienced in my life. It was just the most... I just remember that so vividly in my mind, how amazing something like that was. Because you see things on TV... But when you experience people actually doing that in front of you, and the passion that they have behind it, if they do have that, and just leaving nothing but themselves on the floor, I was just like, oh, I want to do that, you know. And I went in the theatrics way, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do at that stage.
Love Marilyn Manson. You know, one moment that wasn't musically related was, do you remember that documentary Bowling for Columbine?
Yeah.
When they brought him on, and I loved it when they asked him, so what would you tell the youth of America, whatever, and he said, I'd tell them nothing. I'd be more inclined to listen to what they have to say. I thought, how fucking wise, how fucking profound, you know. And it's funny because people would look at someone like Marilyn Manson with all these garb and what have you, and don't realise that he's actually a very deep motherfucker, and a very, very smart motherfucker at that as well. But people just want to judge him based on, you know, the imagery and all that kind of stuff. But to me, that was but that moment for me was quite poignant, because he made a very, very good point, and it just, you know, all the respect I already had for him just elevated just a little bit more.
Especially people like that. It's such an epic, it's an epic persona on stage. Like, that is clearly not the person that you're going to see every day. And I think that's really, really important for people to know, especially people who want to be in the industry. Like, I know for a fact, to get into who I want to be on stage, I change my voice. Like, I walk up on stage, I sound nothing like I'm going from my talking voice all the way down, you know. But it doesn't mean that's who I am when I get off, you know.
It's a persona, isn't it?
It is
a part of who you are.
Yeah, and I think everyone, from even the point of someone playing an acoustic guitar or whatever, they've got their version of that when they get up there and do whatever they do, you know.
And that's part of the fun too. It's like, you know, I mean, we look at how kids play, right? And what are kids about? They say, I'm this, I'm a superhero.
That's exactly right.
Okay,
yeah.
And it's just, it's playful and it's fun. and they just take on a role, and I think that's the same sort of thing that what you're describing. It's allowing yourself the freedom to just be creative and play with an idea or a concept, and just roll with it, but understanding that it's not fundamentally, it's just a part of you. It's not you.
And it doesn't mean that it's not you either.
Yeah.
It's a part of you.
Yeah.
So like when people go, oh, you know, like everyone likes different styles of music, but some people are like, oh, that was so real. That was such a real experience. Of course it was, but they still went to it, you know, they still channeled something else. You know, I'll watch who's a really good one at the moment? Tash Sultana.
Yeah.
Right. And it looks like she's jamming in her living room or whatever. But she is such an enigmatic performer because she just loses herself in her music. But that's not her day to day. She's probably, you know, I wouldn't actually know. I haven't met her that, you know, out and about. But she's probably just regular Joe Block. But in that moment, she is Tash Sultana delivering her music, you know.
She's fucking killing it right now.
She's blown up like me. Yeah, it was only a matter of time, though. She's brilliant.
Yeah. There are just some artists, aren't they? They just sort of come along and, you know, they say that the overnight success takes about 10 years, right? But that you will get every now and again, that one will come along that just has that certain quality about them that captures people's imagination, and it just clicks, doesn't it? You know, so she's definitely one of those. But that's not to say that she hasn't earned her way either. No. She's definitely earned her fucking stripes. There's no doubt about it. If you look into her background and history, I remember seeing a really interesting thing on her not long ago on, I think it was SBS or the ABC. Was it the
Probably
feed?
ABC.
The feed. I think it was the feed. Anyway, and I only knew about her by name, but again, to see what she'd been through in her life and all the performing she'd done. Same thing the other day they showed about Ed what's his name?
Ed Sheeran?
Yeah. There's this photo on Facebook from about 6-7 years ago of him just busking in the street in London. Just busking. You know what I mean? You walk into the city tonight and you'll see buskers everywhere, and the thing is, you just don't know which one of those guys or girls could potentially be that. But everyone had to start from somewhere. Everyone had to pay their dues. Yeah. So there's no free ride or free lunches when it comes to all this sort of stuff, and it's easy for some people to go and look at so and so or what's her name or whoever, and judge, you know, and that's just really jealousy and insecurity and all that kind of stuff. But you know, the people that really earn their way for the most part will also have a career for themselves. They'll maintain. You know, the ones that skyrocket up really quick usually will fizzle out pretty quick as well. But you got to earn your stripes, so.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran's an interesting one because I was having this debate all the way on to, it was like one whole trip on tour, right? Ed Sheeran was able to capture an entire audience, and to the point where you could hear a pin drop in one of the largest venues of the entire world, and he's one person with one guitar on stage. And that to me is so amazing on so many different levels, because as a band, you're lucky enough to have a family that has each other's back through thick and thin. You turn around on stage, they're there. You're on the tour bus together, they're there. They're there for everything, you know. This one guy, he's taken the entire world on this roller coaster ride, just him and his guitar. And then to add to that, he hasn't lost himself to the point, like he knows himself as a performer. And I think that's what we were saying to each other in the car. Like, no matter how much we as a unit work together and whatever, we need to trust we need to trust ourselves as a performer first and find what that means in the confidence of yourself, not taking on someone else's persona or anything else, but feeling it totally within. And then you'll give a really real performance, to the point where this guy came out to Australia and he went out and watched all the buskers, and he ended up offering one guy off the streets an entire world tour off just seeing someone in Melbourne doing all that kind of stuff. And that one guy has basically skyrocketed from that situation as well. And it's just really, it's important. I think people really, really gravitated to him on the level that his music's great. He can deliver such beautiful performances, but he's been able to somehow stay really, really real, and people feel like they connect with him on a very, very personal level.
But isn't that what it's all about? It's all feeling, isn't it? It's all I think the audience, whether they're listening to a record or watching you live, need to feel like you're seeing their narrative, You know, it's like, this song's about me. You know, I relate to this, or they're being sung to exclusively. You know, so and I think it's important. I think that even though you're probably performing to a crowd, you know, each individual member ideally should feel like you're there for them, for them alone. Do you know what I mean? Like you're doing just a private show for them, and so and I think that's where the connection is more than anything.
Yeah, and I think it's like self-confidence as well and self-love. Like if you believe in yourself enough and you're performing for yourself first, you know, and not in a way that's arrogant or anything like that, but you basically exude a confidence that's natural from a self-love situation. And I think he's got it in spades. He's he comes across very, very comfortable in his own skin, and he just stands there and he just delivers. Yeah. And that, you know, if it's Marilyn Manson, if it's so-and-so, if it's whatever, I think that's a lot of what all of these people do really, really well, is that they've found something within themselves that they love.
Yeah, or something that they want to be.
Yeah. And that's created this big bubble of confidence.
Yeah.
That obviously attracts a lot of different people, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's true. I think people generally tend to gravitate towards those who feel centered within themselves, who feel confident within themselves, and like you said, not in an arrogant kind of way, just comfortable in their own skin. And for each individual, I think that's one of the hardest challenges of life, is to get to a point where you feel okay about you and know it's okay to be you as you are, rather than, you know, a knockoff of somebody else. And I think that's the challenge for most people. Certainly was my life challenge for a long time. And here's the irony, you know, like we as humans, we seek significance, we seek validation, love, and they're all they're fundamental human needs. But it's when you stop the game of, I'm doing this because I need your validation, because I need your acceptance, and you completely drop that game. It's funny and ironic that it just comes in fucking spades. Like it's like taking the piss. It's like it's effortless, you know. And so when you realise that, oh shit, it was that easy. Really, it was that easy. But it is. It really is. It's just the hard thing is just to give up the idea that you know, it's the neediness, you know, not understand that you're okay the way you are, you're complete the way you are, and everything else that comes in your life is an embellishment rather than a necessity to fill your cup. You know, no, my cup's already full, motherfucker. I've got heaps here. I've got lots to give, you know. Yeah. So and I think from that place you become happier, more centered, and you can also become more creative, you know, more giving, and a better contributor.
It's just it's basically giving up that idea within that I can't make you like me. Like I can't. And that's the same. I could approach that in any facet of my life. It's not just about, you know, in the music industry itself. Like you've got to put yourself forward and be willing to, you know, put your heart on your shoulder basically, and just offer exactly who you are. And maybe you get hurt, maybe you won't. But you'll never know unless you do it, and that's the bravery behind it. And it's the bravery that I see in the people that I look up to the most, is that kind of thing. You know, people go out there. I personally, like, for the people that come out and see us, if there's a packed room or anything like that, a lot of different people are going to do different things. And it's funny because even as a musician, as we speak now, in the things that we're talking about now, you actually see that in the crowd. So you'll see the ones that come to the front, couldn't give a shit about anybody else, and they're going to sing every word, you know, straight to your face, touch you, don't even care. You've got the ones that are really into it, but they're with their little clique, and they're still looking around, and they're like, you know, who's looking at me though? Like, but I really love this, you know, whatever. You've got the ones out just a little bit further that are checking you out. They're probably musicians themselves, but they're checking out the whole vibe and the whole experience and whatever. But my job is basically to be able to hold my own character on stage. But if that person smiles all of a sudden because they noticed a little thing that Dave did or whatever, I'm going to be like, I saw that, you noticed that kind of thing, and I'll smile at them and break just for a second, you know. That engages that person to take that step forward, because all of a sudden we've made that personal, you know, relationship for 5 seconds. And like, and it's the same for everybody. Obviously our main group down the front from the very beginning, you're going to go down and you're going to slap their hands and everything, and they're there, that's it. But it's those ones down the back that you've got to make that relationship with. And it's as easy as a smile. You don't have to leave the stage and shake their hand. It's one little look.
Yeah, and it's personal. That little moment
Yeah.
is something that a fan will take away for the rest of their lives, and you may have created a pivotal moment for that person.
Yeah.
You just don't realise.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why it's important. You know, I've always respected those bands who sometimes it's not always practical. I mean, the Rolling Stones can't hang around at the back of a merch, can they? You know, and interact with their fans. You know,
They could,
Well, it'd be interesting.
but
if
not
they-
many people would leave. It'd be a big chaos.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think it's important that you do engage with the audience, especially now with the internet, because now there's so much more availability, you know, accessibility to connect with artists and bands and whatnot. And of course, you don't have all the time in the world to be able to answer every individual person, but at least to try and, as much as possible, to, you know, interact, give them something. And it doesn't take much. I think it's just more the acknowledgement. I think more than anything, it's just an acknowledgement of who they are, thanking them. Like you said, sharing that little moment, particularly something like what you talked about, because that becomes then like almost like a little in-joke type thing. It's just, it's yours and their moment, and it's just about you two, and no one else could share that. No one else could understand that, you know?
Yeah.
So good on you for doing that.
I think it's important to, you know, like, when you grow up and you see, and I think everyone's seen this, but they go, you know, I think I saw Foo Fighters for the first time. I saw this happen, and they had a huge ramp, and I remember them pulling up a little boy on stage, and it was like his favourite band ever, and he knew stuff from the back catalogue, back, the front, and everything. But he pointed him out, and he dragged him up on stage and put him on his shoulders. That entire family lost their shit, and I think I've still seen an article go up recently, like, about that one experience, and that guy's now, you know, a teenager or whatever, and he's still like, I'll never forget that, like, it was a moment. But every single person in the whole place felt it. I can't do that because obviously I'm not at that level, but I appreciate just making one person feel that way.
I'll just respectfully.
Yeah.
When you say I'm not at that level, you are in your own way. The
Can't affect it.
But here's the thing.
50,000 people once.
But the thing is, whether you're an international fucking superstar or just the local band playing the weekend, the act itself is the same. There's nothing different about the actual act of a little bit of kindness to a kid, acknowledging them. Okay, it may not be in front of a whole bunch of people, but nonetheless, it's the act itself. So that hasn't changed. It's just the surroundings around it. That's all it is. It's just more of a context thing. It doesn't make the impact or the significance any greater, I don't think. You know, okay, being in front of 30,000 people at Foo Fighters concert on Dave Grohl's shoulders, I understand that. But still, you can't, I don't think you can belittle or discount what you do either. And I'm not pissing in your pocket, and I'm not looking for a new best friend. I've already got enough of them. But I think it still comes down to the act. Because what's going to be the difference between you doing that now to a kid in fucking Bundoora and, you know, Madison Square Garden? It's still the same act, isn't it? Still the same intent.
But that's totally the situation that I learnt from.
Yeah.
You know, bands, obviously, they make music to make music, and there's lots of different people. Some people don't even like the performance. They got performance anxiety, but they love making music, you know. Everyone's different. But there are so many bands out there that just want to play. They just want to play. But if you want to play successfully, I think it's important to draw the line in the sand and recognise that this isn't just a fun time for you, it's fun for the people that are coming along. So you need to make sure that it's fun for them too, you know. And that's part of that, you know, making them know that you appreciate it in the smallest ways that you can, but things that are memorable for next time, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're going to wind it up here, Morgan-Leigh Brown.
No worries.
Thanks for coming.
That's okay.
It's been beautiful catching up. It's been a nice conversation.
Yeah.
And sorry about our little glitch before, but we'll get you back again. I want to do one with you and Higo. We were actually meant to have Dave Higgins here with us, but unfortunately he's out of town this weekend. So, but we've got we've been talking to a whole bunch of people, and I've been very grateful at the support of the artists that I've spoken to so far, who they all want to get involved, and you know, just to be able to sit down and have, you know, again, just talk about career, music, life, and stuff, and get down with the shit that's real. And talk about the stuff that matters as well, you know, rather than the standard, you know, music stuff. I mean, well, standard music stuff, you know. I mean, but just for me, it's more about, you know, getting more of an interesting insight into the, you know, the mind of an artist and, you know, of a creative, and what makes them tick and their journey. Because, you know, my hope is that some kid out in butt-fuck northern New South Wales might see this, you know, and be inspired by something like that, you know, because again, the kids particularly feel like they're an island unto themselves, and they look up to certain people, and they think, no, that's out of my realm. I can't do this. How is this ever going to happen to me? And once they realise that, they move away just from the veneer, if you will, the persona, and get behind that, and realise that, you know, musicians, artists are just as flawed and fucked up as the rest of society. You know, they just happen to have, you know, persevered a little longer or believed in themselves, whatever it is. But at least the kid can look at that and just go, fuck, you know what, maybe I can do this. You know, this now makes me feel like I'm a little bit more on the same level as that person, and they don't, and there's not as much disparity. You know, so thanks for sharing your thoughts today.
No worries.
Yeah.
Very unique forum. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, initially, like before, the last podcast I did was, we did it at Deluxe, and that was great. That was in the studio and come in. But I think I like the idea of doing it here because, you know, this venue now has really taken off and becoming a legit as fuck, you know, great live music venue.
Yeah, just checked out the back room.
And the main room is just amazing.
It's serious, guys. Like.
And they're getting they're getting great bands through and internationals through. So this front bar here basically was we're sitting down with Andrew Parisi, who books a lot of the bands here, and it was to his credit that he threw up the idea initially and said, hey, how about we do something here? We got it all set up. We got a stage. We got lights. We got this and that, and maybe help to create a little bit of a vibe on a Saturday night. Before people, you know, go out, and particularly if they're going to come to here, and again, you know, my vision for this podcast is to get, you know, build more of a sense of community, get more of us musicians and creators together, and you know, just create a place where people can talk and open up and talk about the shit that matters, and if we can help a few people along the way by sharing our stories and being authentic in how we share those stories. That then we could perhaps, you know, take that kid. You know, for me, every time I do a talk, I've only had one intention, and that is there's always going to be some kid who comes in with the idea of, not sure whether I should do this, or they're kind of on the edge. So all I really hope to do, and I never know if I ever will, but at least that's my intention, is to be that first domino. And if you can take a kid from not sure to fuck yeah, I'm going out and doing it, because it's all about pivotal moments. We've all had those moments in life, and something said to you, or maybe didn't say to you, or showed you, or what have you. And we may be talking about 1 degree of separation, but over the course of time, that 1 degree will cover a lot of fucking ground. So, and that's all sometimes it can take, just a slight little knock off to send them off in a different trajectory, which is hopefully for the better. So that's my intention behind all of this, you know. Because I've been fortunate, I've been the recipient of great, you know, mentoring, great teaching, and so it's like, you know, I wanted to pay this fucker forward now. Anyway, love you, Morgan. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. Thanks.
Right. Oh. Take care. Thanks for coming, guys, and thanks for joining us. That was our third podcast. Thomas Overend from the Backline Project. I love you, motherfucker. Thank you so much for your hard work and all you've done. And thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you hopefully next week for another installment of Mastering Music, Mastering Life. And as I always say, please be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourselves. Love you, fucks. See ya. Happy Easter.